Hi everyone, check this out. This right-wing SJW says, Soytheist is a dishonorable little puddle of curry. Now, this use of the word curry as an insult is obviously a reference to me being Indian and is a racist slur. Now, this is the current state of affairs, but how did we get here? We'll discuss all of that and more today, right here. So, welcome to another Soytheist live stream. In this live stream, we're going to discuss how all of this started, how I turned it around, how he has physically threatened me, right? And has threatened me with lawsuits, and how he has sent racists to my profile who use the N word against me. And all of this and more, and maybe even we'll respond to Cosmic Skeptics' views on animal rights. That might be confusing, but as the stream goes on, it will become clear why we're referencing to this person as an SJW, as right wing, and how Cosmic Skeptic is related. So, uh, this is going to be interesting. Have a seat. Anyway, let's get right into it, right? So, the person in question here, right, is someone called JimmyBob, who is a sort of comic artist who critiques mostly he critiques left-leaning ideologies and that kind of stuff. Now, how this started was a while ago, right? JimmyBob, this person right here, he started following me. Wait, let me show you. So as you can see here, I don't know if, okay, you can't see it. Yeah, okay. So as you can see here, right, you see, look, this person followed me a while ago, right? And ever since he has been commenting on my posts and that kind of stuff, and that is fine, right? But what is not fine is he was also tagging me in various videos of animals being brutalized, right? And he would tag me in those photos and tell me, "Hey, Soytheist, what's wrong with this? Check this out. Tell me why this is wrong." Now, I didn't keep a screenshot of the first few times he did this because I thought, well, how many times could he possibly do this? But well, I was wrong, right? He kept doing it, and so I managed to keep a screenshot of the last one. Now this one involves some graphic footage. So if you're not good with that, this is a video of wild animals being brutalized. So if you're not good with that, I recommend that you look away from the screen, and I'll tell you when to look back, and then you can look back, right? All right, so we're going to look at what he has tagged me in, right? Here it is. It's a video. So look away now if you can't handle this. Um, it's a video of a wild animal being torn to shreds by lions, right? Look, and yep. So you can look back now. Here is JimmyBob. He has tagged me in here, right? And he says, "Hey, Soytheist, can you tell me why it is immoral for me to do this?" Now, I don't mind people asking me questions. The problem here is that he is intentionally trying to trigger me, right? He is intentionally trying to trigger me and like get on my nerves, right? And he's doing it at the cost, and he's using and he's tokenizing the suffering of wild animals and animals in general in order to do that. And that did not quite sit quite right with me, right? So I had to do something about it, right? We can't just let these people go. So what I did, right, was I took one of his comics from his account, right, and I turned it into a vegan meme, right, and I turned it into a vegan meme. So like on his account, let me show you. Yeah. Okay, so this was the meme from his account, so sort of comic from his account that I turned into a vegan meme. So this was like a sort of critique of free will, I suppose, And yeah, and so I took that, right? I turned it into a vegan meme, and I wrote here, look, but lions kill their children too, Your Honor, right? Because that is exactly the defense that JimmyBob here is. That is the excuse that JimmyBob here is using to justify to justify him killing animals. But as I wrote in the caption there, I'll explain it here too. While other animals have moral worth, right? They have moral worth, but they don't have moral agency. Now, this might sound like I'm just making stuff up, but let me explain. Consider, suppose, very old human beings, right? Very old or very young, right? Very old or very young human beings with severe mental disabilities, right? And yeah, while we would say that it is wrong to kill them, right? It is wrong to kill them because they can suffer, because they can feel pain, and so on. We don't hold them to moral account, right? Because they don't have the intellect, right? The rationality to be able to reflect on their actions. And the same goes for other animals. We can give someone the right, the very basic right to be left alone, right? Without it meaning that we hold them to some kind of moral responsibility, right? So yeah, that's the meme, and I suppose this got on his nerves, right? And yeah, so he left a comment, and he sort of brought about all his followers onto my account, and we'll see. Like, stick around. He sent racists to my profile, right? He must know what his follower base is like, and right now he's using racial slurs himself, but that's for later. At first, we'll see how he sent racists to my profile, but now he comments that, like, this isn't considered transformed. You did nothing. You put my name on a message. Look here. Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on. Yeah. So he left a comment saying that this is not transformative, right? You put my name on a sort of message that I do not believe in, right? Look right here. You put my names on a message that doesn't represent my work, says JimmyBob. So his complaint here, right? His complaint here is that I've put his name on a message that he does not agree with, right? Look here. He says, "Why would I want credit for a position I don't make or agree with?" Right? And remember this for later, because this is just basic SJW sort of basic SJW behavior. Nothing can ever satisfy them. They will say, like, this is the thing I have a problem with, and later on, when you give them that thing, like when you solve their problem for them, they say, no, that is the other thing I have a problem with. Solve that now, right? You can never satisfy an SJW, right? And so yeah, remember this for later. He's saying that I put his name on a message he does not agree with. Remember that for later. Now, what happened after this? He sent all his sort of followers to my account, right? And I had asked for some music recommendations, and look what his followers sent me, right, as a music recommendation. Look here, right? It's the N-word. It's a song whose title is the N-word. And this is very obvious what was the intention here. And like here's another one, right? I don't like N-word, right? This is the kind of following base that this man has, right? And like, I understand that you cannot hold someone to account for the kind of people who follow them, but I do think that you can hold someone to account if they send those people to other people's profile, knowing the kind of follower base that they have, right? So yeah, look, this is the kind of behavior of his followers. Here's another one, right? Um, yeah. Oh, by the way, since I am showing all of this, right, it is very obvious that this video might be not very obvious. This video might be demonetized. So if you want to support the stream, please do donate via the link in the pinned comment. Right, that's streamlabs.com/Soytheist. Oh, we have Jim. I just noticed we have JimmyBob, triggered little SJW in the live chat. So, chat, what do you think we should do? Do you think we should let JimmyBob stay, or should we sort of mute him? I'll do what the chat says. We can move on, I guess. Yeah. Now, since JimmyBob sent all of these racists and homophobes and all of these people onto my profile, right, I had to do something, right? I can't just sit around while he does all of this. So I made another meme, right? I made another meme. Here, check this out. This, interestingly, was originally an this was originally an anti-vegan sort of comic, right? Where this, let's not discuss that. But for now, here's one. Here's one that, So some people, like, I don't know, I think JimmyBob certainly qualifies into this category, sort of. But there are some people who say that they are justified to, that they're not hypocrites, that they're not doing something unethical, because they are eating animals while they don't love animals, right? And so here's the thing. This guy says, I eat animals because I don't love them, right? And so there's no inconsistency here, right? And the other person says, well, nobody loves you either. So the basic point here is that just because you don't love an individual, it does not give you the right to it does not give you the right to kill them for your temporary pleasure, right? Okay. Okay, so JimmyBob is having some fun after I said that I won't discuss the original comic. Fine, let's discuss the original comic. So in the original comic, let me share my screen again. In the original comic, this person, the guy here, was saying, you don't need meat to exist, right? And the other person says, you don't need to exist. So basically, JimmyBob was making the case that existing is not a necessity, philosophically speaking, right? But here's the thing. When vegans make the case for veganism, right, it's mostly not done on some from the ground up, from the base meta-ethical principles. It is done from consistency, right? People have certain beliefs, and we point out to them, right, that we point out to them, look, here are your beliefs, here are the things you believe, and it automatically leads to veganism. Leads to veganism being a moral obligation, right? That is what vegans are doing. So no, that doesn't debunk veganism, because most people, right? So for example, if you say some, like, punching people, like someone is going around punching people, and they're under the impression that they must do this in order to be healthy. They think that they need it to be psychologically healthy, maybe. Hypothetically, let's consider this a hypothetical example. And we say, look, you don't actually need to punch people in order to be healthy, in order to be physically or psychologically healthy. the response should not then be, well, you don't need to exist, right? That's not the point here. You already have some beliefs, and here's where that leads you, right? So, yeah. Okay, what do we have next? Okay, this is the fun bit. Yeah, look here, everyone. So after I posted this comic, right? After I posted this comic, he says that I should stop using his art. Look right here, stop using my art. And I told him that if he cries harder, I just might stop using his art. And at the moment, I don't think he's crying hard enough, right? I don't think he's crying hard enough at all, right? So yeah, so I didn't do that. Now, look what he has to say. He says, or I can just find you, right? He says he can just find me and no crying needed. Now, this is internet tough guy, right? Internet tough guy. He says that he says that he will find me. Now, what that implies, I think everyone can decipher. So, yeah. So this is the kind of SJW behavior that we see. Like if you disagree with them, right, they come down to violence, right? And this is also kind of like very emotional. Like this guy gets very emotional very quick, right? Like he cannot control his emotions. You disagree with him, he threatens to get violent. I don't know. He probably has no idea where I live, so I'm not very worried. But this kind of reveals his character, doesn't it? And you know what? After this happened, right? After this whole episode went down, I thought I'd just sort of leave it there, right? Like this was enough. I suppose he started it, and then I responded, and then he sent his followers to my account, and I responded again. I thought I'll just leave it there. Like that's enough, right? But here's the thing. He didn't just stop there. He took the comic that I created, right? It's my art, whether or not JimmyBob likes to accept it, right? I made a meme. He took that meme and he sold it. And he's claiming, right? He's claiming that he's using that to support his local butcher. Now, I think this guy just likes to pick fights. So, you know what I think? I think that like the person who picks a fight, right? The person who picks a fight is an idiot. The person who picks a fight he cannot win is the king of all idiots. So that's what JimmyBob is, right? So yeah, that's what happened. So JimmyBob sold this and supported his local butcher. So what you can do right now is help out, like help out by donating to the stream and ultimately lead to JimmyBob indirectly supporting in the creation of vegan content. And that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Now here's the... Okay, before we proceed any further, I think we should take a look at the comments, right? I should take a look at the comments. JimmyBob is still here. And it's interesting how much, like, I don't know what he's getting out of this, right? Because I'm making content, right? And I'm debunking certain arguments for my audience. JimmyBob, I don't know. I guess he has a lot of free time, or I suppose they live in his head. It has to be one of those things. Maybe it is both. But yeah. So yeah, that's why I suppose JimmyBob is still here. Anyway, let's continue, right? How is everyone, by the way? Like, wait, hold on. Before we proceed, how is everyone? I got a new haircut. My hair had started getting too long. So yeah, there's that. Yeah. How are all of you? Tell me. Anyway, let's proceed. Let's not waste too much time here. Okay, here's the thing. JimmyBob published another comic. I forget what it was, right? But here's the interesting thing about that. That in this comic, someone tagged me. I don't go to his profile the way he comes to my profile, right? And yeah, but someone tagged me on his profile on his sort of comic, right? And I thought this will make for excellent vegan content too, right? So yeah, that's what I said. And JimmyBob here clearly says, go for it. Your edits support beef farmers. Your recent edit already sold. So he's selling my work to support beef farmers, okay? I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what he is claiming. So make sure to make it so that he is ultimately responsible for supporting a vegan creator, right? Anyway, so but the key point here is that he has given me consent, right? What I was doing was already, like, as far as I can tell, protected under fair use conditions. But here, as you can see, he says go for it, which means that I have his explicit consent to use his work, right? Now, despite this, now here's another SJW sort of behavior, right? That he will say, like, you have my permission to do this, but later when you take him up on his word, right? You'll see later that he says, oh no, I never said that. And yeah. So now, what happened after this? Because I had his consent, right? I asked my followers on Instagram if I should sell my artwork as NFT. And this is when JimmyBob, like, just in the previous page, right, he told me that I have his consent. Now he's saying that I don't, right? In some a different post of mine, JimmyBob said that I am stealing other people's work, and that I find no moral issues with that. Look here, right here, he says that, right? Yeah. So I told him that I didn't sell anyone's work, right? And yeah, I didn't sell anything, right? It's JimmyBob who sold my work. Let's be very clear here. That's my work, right? Because I transformed it. Now, I understand that people can revoke their consent, right? Uh, let's be clear about that. It's not that once you've given consent, right, that it is everlasting in most situations. But you can't say that, like, after something has been done, right? Like, if I'm in the process of doing it, right? If I'm in the process of doing it and he comes along and says, don't do it, right? I revoke my consent, well, I won't do it. I understand how consent works. But Jimmy here, Jimmy here is crying as if I had already sold his content, like the artwork that I created with his consent, and then says that I did not give you consent. Now that's where I think he's being a bit silly. Now, here's the thing. What I don't understand, he's claiming that I am stealing his work, but what I am doing, right? What I'm doing is I'm transforming his art, right? And this kind of stuff happens all the time on the internet. If you've been on the internet for any length of time, you will know this. Let me show you a different example. The example I can come up with on the spot is the Batman slapping Robin meme. Like this one. Hold on. Chrome tab. Yeah, look at this. So this right here, oopsie. So this right here is the comic, and like people have transformed this in various ways, right? This has become a meme to the point that you can even see Wolverine doing it, and it is transformed, and yeah. So like if people can do this, right? What's wrong with me taking JimmyBob's content, comic, and making a meme out of that? I'll tell you what's the difference, right? The difference is that the creators of Batman are not like triggered little SJWs who get triggered when their comics are transformed. Like maybe they could, but they don't do anything because they understand internet culture. But JimmyBob here is this triggered little SJW who can't do anything. Like who gets emotional over little things. Anyway, before we proceed any further, I want to thank the super chats and donations that have come so far. First, let's take one from YouTube. Right, here's one from YouTube. Very small tofu, that's a very cute username, has sent a super sticker worth RON50. I don't know what that, I don't know how much that is, but thank you so much. It means a lot. We also have some donations via Streamlabs. By the way, if you are going to send donations, all donations are very much appreciated. But I will say that when you send donations via Streamlabs, right, they take a sort of smaller cut, so and I get to keep more of the money. So if you're going to send donations, it's preferable that you send them via Streamlabs. But sending them via YouTube is fine too. I still get to keep the vast majority of the money. So yeah. Anyway, I got 2 donations via Streamlabs. DJ Learnel. I know you, right? Obviously, I know you well. I'm familiar with you, but I've never quite learned how to pronounce that username. But thank you so much. DJ Learnel has sent $15. Maybe I'll put up. Yeah. So let me just DJ Learner has sent $15. And yeah, that there it is. So yeah, thank you so much. Sordilin has sent $5. So let me put that on the screen too. This is a bit difficult because these are from Streamlabs, but I do get to keep more of the money. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. So anyway, all of this, this sort of donations and all of this is only possible because of JimmyBob. If JimmyBob had not picked this fight with me, I would not have gotten this money. And all of this money, by the way, goes directly in the creation of more vegan content. So yeah, that's what we were discussing, right? Let's close that. So these like comics on the internet get memed all the time, but the difference is, of course, that the creators of those comics are not like triggered little SJWs. So JimmyBob had earlier, as you saw, sort of threatened me with physical violence, internet tough guy. Yeah. But now he's also threatening to take legal action against me for making memes. Because according to him, making memes is theft. If that is not like just classical SJW behavior, I don't know what is. And like, I think SJW is not a sort of not a accurate word for JimmyBob, because at the very least, SJWs, like, they have their heart in the right place, I suppose, right? They have their heart in the right place. Whatever you want to say about them, they probably, I don't know, they might have their heart in the right place, but this guy doesn't. This guy clearly doesn't. He uses racial slurs, he threatens people with violence, and so on. And yeah, so I think the more accurate term for JimmyBob is a cancel justice warrior, right? That's what he is, cancel justice warrior. And he says that he likes cancel culture, which is just so shocking. Like, how am I, like, I'm surprised, really. Anyway, let's proceed. Oops, I have to do this. Now, what I did next, right, is I sort of, because JimmyBob constantly was crying, right, he was constantly crying about me using his content supposedly, I made my own content, right? And yeah, this is what I did. If you folks remember this comic, right? This comic, I took that, I transformed that, I created a comic of my own. So let's talk about this one. This one is like, vegans are often accused of sort of forcing their lifestyle on people, right? Vegans, don't force your lifestyle on me. Now, I would take that very seriously if it didn't mean that they were if it didn't mean that they were not forcing their opinions on other animals, right? So, for example, like, a non-vegan believes, right? It is their belief that it is okay to kill innocent animals for taste pleasure, right? They believe that it is amoral, right? They believe it is amoral to kill animals for taste pleasure. And they force that belief onto others, right? And now this right here is what we have to notice. So they're forcing their beliefs onto others, right? And then they're saying, when vegans ask them, hey, don't force your beliefs onto them, they turn around and say, no, you're the one doing the forcing, back off, it is my personal choice. But really, when we talk about personal choice of eating animals, whose personal choice, other than our own, are we really considering? Because if we are to look at personal choice and say that like vegans don't have the justification to force their beliefs, then you don't have the justification to force your beliefs on animals either. Because if you have the right, if you have the right to force pigs into gas chambers, then I think I have the right to sort of like try to have a conversation with you. I reserve that right for myself. And it doesn't matter if every single person in the world disagrees with me. Like if they disagree with that, they can pick a number and get in line. And yeah, because I'm not going to stop doing this. Anyway, we have another super chat, another donation via Streamlabs from Dawi. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's $5. And Dawi says, love the content, say hi to JimmyBob. Say hi to JimmyBob. So JimmyBob, Dawi says hi. So far we have $20 and 50 RON. I have no idea what that is, but thank you so much, everyone. Anyway, so here are the sort of comments on the most recent post. Hold on, I'm not sharing my screen. I need to remember to share my screen. Yeah, so here are the comments on my most recent post, and the Dyke Dynasties commented that these images are much better than the content, let's say art, whatever, that JimmyBob creates. Now, look here at this final comment from JimmyBob, right? He says, first he replies, which circus you work for? The Dyke Dynasty replies, you mad AF. And JimmyBob says, you mean when you spend years establishing a recognizable style and a little skinny-necked puddle of curry just takes it and presents it as his own? You people have zero integrity. This phrase, puddle of curry, now this is obviously in reference to me being Indian. And here's the thing, that recently a lot of people have shifted sort of towards the right of the political spectrum because of all the wokeness that has taken over. And I understand that, and most of those people are not racists. And yeah, most of those people are not racists. But those people are sort of the grass, right? And JimmyBob is the JimmyBob is the snake, sort of. No, that's an insult to snakes. JimmyBob is the sort of poison in that grass, right? And yeah, so it's like needle in a haystack, right? So because of all those people, it's very difficult to accuse people of to find out when people are actually racists. But this man right here, I do think is an actual racist, because he uses these racial slurs, he sends racist to other people's profiles and so forth, right? So yeah. And that's how we arrive here. JimmyBob says Soytheist is a dishonorable little puddle of curry for drawing comics. Basically what he does. But now, right, he is using racial slurs against me. I think these people, they try to be like closeted racists, right? They don't use racial slurs and racial insults against people, and they kind of hide their racism kind of. And I think I've triggered him enough to the point of making these I've triggered him to the point of making these racial slurs against me and sort of revealing his true colors. We'll get to JimmyBob soon. We have some we have some things to return back to. But yeah, for now, I think we have we have a sort of interactive session right here. So I want to tell you folks about something that I'm doing soon. I'm starting a podcast. Yeah, I'm starting a podcast. And I'm having some difficulty picking the name for it, right? And I have a few names. So I want all of you to help me pick one. But before that, we have a super chat. And oh my goodness. I can... Okay, where's my mouse? Yeah, there it is. Here is a super chat of $100, which is amazing. Thank you so much, JDW0426, who says, thanks for what you do. You can't avoid the JimmyBobs of the world, but you can profit off them. That is very true, very true. Thank you so much, so much. It means so much to me. I can't express. Let's keep that on the screen for a while because of how big of a donation that is. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now, yeah, we were discussing the podcast name. So I have a few options. Let me sort of write them in a banner. Yeah. Hold on. So, this is tricky. Let's try it this way. So the first one that I have is the Soytheist podcast. That's the first one, okay? This is the first idea I have, the Soytheist podcast. And the benefit of this is that when people will search for my name, right? When people will search for my name, the podcast will also come up, right? So there's that, right? There's, but it's kind of boring, I guess, the Soytheist podcast. It sounds very generic. Another option I have is Soycast. So yeah, that's another name for a podcast. I think it's creative, right? I think it's creative. It's better than the Soytheist podcast, I think. There's another one I have that I'm going that we can call Soytheism, right? And the final one, which I really prefer, I think, is Sinta with Soytheist. Yeah. So let me explain this one. So I think I think the podcast, I just want to keep it more broad, right? I have some contacts, right, in this sort of anti-wokeness arena. I have some other contacts in the science arena, and I want to be able to invite them. Now, if I make the podcast name starting with soy, I think that's a bit more difficult. But Sinta with Soytheist. Now, what does that mean? Sinta is the Assamese word for thinking, right? And Assamese is my first language. So, Sinta with Soytheist basically just means thinking with Soytheist, right? And yeah, so that's thinking with Soytheist, but with that sweet, sweet alliteration, right? That S and S, right? Sinta with Soytheist. So, what do you think of that? Let me know in the comments. And we have some stuff to return back to on JimmyBob. Do remind me. But yeah. Now, what I want to do is I want to respond to Alex O'Connor, right? What do you think, chat? Are you interested? Yeah, let's do that. Let's respond to Alex O'Connor, who is also known as Cosmic Skeptic. While we're bringing that up, so Cosmic Skeptic, I think, is a wonderful guy, right? But I think he has recently gotten something wrong, in where he says that animals don't have a right to life. So I want to respond to that. Let's put my headphones on and we can respond to that. Okay, before we sort of respond to Cosmic Skeptic, I want to tell you why I'm responding to him in this stream. It's because the first time I found JimmyBob was when he made a comic about Cosmic Skeptic. Like, I forgot what it was exactly. But yeah, he has this habit of picking fights with vegans, so it's not just me. Yeah. So I should share my screen. Hold on, share screen. I think this is a good view, don't you think? I think I will not respond to the entirety of what Cosmic Skeptic has to say, but I will respond to what I consider the crux of his argument. But if you are interested in what he has to say, I do encourage you to go to his video after this stream has ended and check out what he has to say, because you might need the full context. But I think what I will discuss will cover it, basically.
Nice.
First, do let me know if you can hear his audio, okay?
Never violate, no matter the circumstances.
Can you hear his audio? Let me know in the comments, because if not, then this is going to look really silly.
Well, realistically, then I have something like a right to life unless I'm threatening somebody else's life or something like this. And there are lots of other problems that you can add on. So
Okay.
there's this.
So we have a confirmation that you can hear his audio. So yeah. So, okay. Here's where it starts. I think the crux of his argument.
So here's the problem with trying to grant that kind of inviolability, that right to life to non-human animals. As things currently stand, and this might not be the case in principle, I'm not really sure, I wouldn't want to say either way, but certainly in practice, it is currently impossible, it's not possible to avoid killing animals in the production of food for human sustenance, right? Now, of course, we can eat plants, but Do bear in mind that growing plants, all plant-based agriculture involves animal death, not just from pesticides and habitat destruction, but also like the effect of transporting food, the environmental costs, all of this kind of stuff. It involves a lot of animal deaths, is what I'm trying to say. Now, of course, the vegan response.
Now, um, Alex is right here, of course, that the production of any kind of food, plant-based food, I already gave a disclaimer, right? But let's do that again. I have huge respect for Alex. I think he does great work. But yeah, he's wrong here. So let's give him a civilized sort of response, right? So Alex is right here, of course, that killing plants, not killing plants, growing crops, right? It causes a lot of animal death, right? But that's not all it causes, right? The production of plant-based food, right, is also responsible for the deaths of human beings, right? If you look at the stats from India, and if you're watching this on replay, there will be sources in the description box. In India alone, right, between 1995 to 2015, around 300,000 farmers died, right? 300,000 farmers died in the production of plant-based food by suicides. That is just the nature of food production in India. So I depend on a system, right, that causes human deaths, right? If I'm eating that food, I'm contributing to that system. So Alex is right that plant-based food causes animal deaths, but it also causes human deaths, right? And it's not just suicides. There are accidents, there are all that sort of stuff. Tractor accidents, some people get run over by the tractors, some people get kicked by wild animals, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's that. So Alex's case, as we'll see later, it says that, because we're killing animals, we can't say that they have a right to life, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to violate it. But humans have a right to life, and we're clearly violating it in the production of plant-based food. So that cannot be a distinction because deaths of both are involved here. Anyway, let's continue.
To this is to say that yes, growing plants is what I'm trying to say. Now, of course, the vegan response to this is to say that yes, growing plants kill some animals, but a lot more crops, a lot more plants are used to feed livestock than to feed human beings. So if we're trying to minimize the amount of animal suffering we're responsible for, we can either grow some crops, which does kill some animals, and then eat those crops, or grow even more crops, killing even more animals, to then feed those crops to livestock to then kill those animals to eat those animals. And it's clear which is going to contribute least to animal suffering and death. So here's the problem.
Okay, so that's one response, right? That is one response to give to someone who makes that argument. But there is definitely another response that you could provide, right? And that other response, right, is that it's about a matter of intention, right? When you're ordering plant-based food, you are not demanding that someone kills animals you're not demanding the death of animals. That is just an unfortunate consequence of the production. When you're ordering animal-based food, right, that is what you're demanding. You're demanding the death of other animals, right? You're demanding that a chicken be killed, or a goat be killed, or a cow be killed, so that you can eat their flesh. I think this is a very important distinction. And the way we can think about this is, think of this, like you're driving down the road, okay? And it happens ever so often. Like, I don't drive, so it hasn't happened with me. But it happens ever so often that a driver will hit a dog, hit a sort of animal on the road, and the animal dies, right? Do you think that there is a difference between that and seeing an animal in the distance, chasing that animal down with your car until you've hit that animal and killed that animal. Do you think there's a difference? I think there is a difference. And I think it has to be, and I think most people would agree with me on that one. And I think Alex would too. So I think he forgot about that part. I don't know. Or maybe he thinks there is a reason to not include that response. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's why I disagree with him there. Now let's continue and see what he has to say next.
Think of human, which is going to contribute least to animal suffering and death. So here's the problem. Think of human rights, like the right to life in a human context. If the only way that I could get food in order to stop myself from starving was to go and kill another person, legally or morally, I don't think this can be justified. There might be some ethical theories, certainly like egoism, almost certainly would say so. But I think most people's, at least their ethical intuitions, would say that I don't get to go and murder somebody because it's the only way to feed me. Even if it means I starve, that doesn't mean I have the right to go and take someone else's life. Why? Well, potentially because they have this thing called the right to life. They have a right that I can't violate, even if it means that I'm going to starve to death. Let's say I need to murder them to steal their food or something like that. This isn't something we think is justified. If we were to apply that right to life to non-human animals, then now consider the animals that are killed in crop production. We'd have to say the same kind of thing. We'd have to say, if the only way for me to eat is to kill all of these animals, then I just can't eat because they have a right to life that cannot be violated. They're not.
Okay, so I think that the analogy does not work there because, again, those deaths are accidental deaths. So if I think the analogy of killing your neighbor to steal their food is hunting, right? It's hunting an animal. And I think most people, most vegans, right? I think vegans in general would agree that hunting is immoral, and they would not really kill an animal for like for their food, right? So yeah, that it's not that, right? The difference is in the intention again. One is accidental death, the other is intention. The analogy to killing your neighbor is to intentionally go out and kill an animal, not to accidentally contribute to crop deaths.
Threatening me in any way or anything like this. I'm going over to them and killing them in order to produce food to feed myself. So if they have a right to life, it means I can't do that. What does that mean? It means humankind will starve because, as I say, as things currently stand, we can definitely minimize animal death and suffering by eating plants, but we can't eliminate it. We can't get rid of animal death in even just plant-based agriculture. So if they had this right to life in the same way that humans do, we'd be in big trouble. So you could just say that the non-human animal's right to life is a different kind of right to life to a human being. Maybe in a human context, I'm allowed to kill you only if you're threatening me, but in a non-human context, I'm allowed to kill you just if it's necessary for me to survive, or something like this. But if you're going to do that, then you're going to have to offer an analysis of rights that explains why one creature has this kind of right and one creature has this kind of right. And I think it also muddies the term right to life and makes it vague and essentially something that changes depending on who it applies to. The whole point of having this system of rights is that, for instance, in human rights, the idea is that if you're a human, you have this right. That's it. No questions asked. Simple as that. If you start saying, well, you get this right and you don't get this right, and you kind of get an adapted different kind of version of this right, the whole functional purpose of rights is thrown out the window anyway. So I don't really think it's probably a helpful thing to do to argue that animals have a right to life, certainly not in the way that humans do. I think it's better to say something like they have a right to avoid or to not have inflicted upon them unnecessary or wanton suffering. I think that's a much easier position to defend and would be consistent with our views regarding human beings. But to say that animals have a right to life, I'm not sure I can stand by that. But if you really...
Okay, so I think the problem here is that Alex is going backwards, right? He has sort of taken how we live in this world, and then he's deciding on what rights should be. Because remember, we're not discussing what rights animals have. We're discussing what rights animals should have, right? And like he has taken like how the convenience of humans, like humans want this, and therefore the rights of animals has to sort of match up with that. I think that is the sort of wrong approach, because why should ethics be why should ethics and morality be like so human centered? Like maybe like he has studied philosophy, at Oxford, so maybe he knows something I don't, but I don't understand that why ethics has to be so human centered, that we have our certain condition and animals' rights has to match up with that, instead of just analyzing the properties of animals, of how much they suffer, of how much pain they can feel, and affording them rights on that basis. I don't understand this human centrism, and yeah, I don't get it. Maybe he knows something I don't.
I really do want to cling on to this idea that non-humans have a right to life in the same way that humans do. I think it's going to be a bit tricky, but you've got two options, maybe, that I can think of. One option is to treat human rights in exactly the same way. So you might say that my neighbor has a right to life, but one of the exceptions or one of the specified conditions of this is that if I'm starving, I'm able to go over to them and murder them in order to take their food and feed myself. That would be consistent with what we do to animals in crop production, where we kill.
No. What would be consistent with what we do to animals in what would be consistent with killing your neighbor to take their food is to go to a nearing animal, to kill them, and either to eat them or to take their food. That is analogous to killing your neighbor to take their food or to eat your neighbor. So yeah, I think Alex is making a disanalogy here.
Kill them in order to feed ourselves. But I think that's a tricky position to hold, that my neighbor can have a right to life, but one of the specifications of that right to life is that if I'm starving and the only way for me to eat would be to go and kill them, that I'm able to do that. So that's option one. The other option, of course.
Okay, now before we sort of end this, I do want to do a sort of Q&A at the end. So if you have questions, right, you can submit them in the chat right now. I'll try to get to them. Like if you have any questions, if you don't, well, we'll just end it after this, and after talking about that thing, right, that I said we had left in the JimmyBob case. So yeah, so let's see what Alex has to say about this other thing. Second option,
Of course, would be to become a Jain or a fruitarian or whatever it is they call them, the kind of people who just don't kill animals in any context. In its most extreme formulations, these are the kind of people who will stare at a tree and wait for the apple to fall off before eating it because they can't yank it off because that would be, I don't know, a violation to the tree or whatever it is they think. I wouldn't recommend this line of thought, ladies and gentlemen, because you will become malnourished. Being vegan and being a healthy vegan is perfectly possible, but it can be quite tricky, certainly depending on where you live. Trying to do it without being responsible for any animal death, including animal death in crop production, is completely unrealistic, and you will end up being malnourished and ill and probably dead. So I wouldn't recommend that one either. I'd probably go with the first option. Do you ride?
Okay, so just to wrap up here, yeah, Alex says that it is perfectly possible to be vegan, but to be vegan without being responsible for any animal deaths is impossible. Now that's true, but the problem is that he uses this to say that animals don't have a right to life, right? Should not have a right to life. But the thing is that it is not possible to live in this world without being the cause of human deaths and human exploitation. But that doesn't mean that humans don't have human rights and a right to life as a consequence. So yeah, I don't quite get his reasoning here. Oh, and he also discusses Jains. Jains are a peculiar case, aren't they? Let's close this. Yep. Alex also talked about Jains, and Jains are not fruitarians. Jains will consume dairy. So that's just another thing that's so interesting about the sort of Western perception of um, Eastern religions, right? They're seen as these peaceful religions that just don't do harm. I'm not sure if Alex is talking exactly in that sense, but that's how I see a lot of people view it. But Jains do consume dairy, and dairy, as we know, is far more exploitative, even more exploitative than meat. So, yeah, that's an interesting case. I thought it was worth mentioning. Now, if we have any questions, then we'll answer those. Otherwise, let's go back to that. Hold on. Okay, let's talk about JimmyBob. Wait a minute. Okay, I can't find it right now. Okay, found it. Ah. Where is it? Where do I share my screen? Window. Is it this? No. Hold on. Okay, so he says here, if you can see, why would I want credit for a position I don't make or agree with? But later when he later in this section of the video, in this later comment, he says that I'm using his heart and selling it as my own. Wait, not this one. Yeah, here, look here. You mean when you spend years establishing a recognizable style and a little skinny necked bottle of curry just takes it and presents it as his own? You people have zero integrity. So, first, he was complaining that I have put his name on a message that he doesn't agree with, right? I put his name on a message he doesn't agree with. But later on, he says that I'm using his style without giving him credit and taking credit for it. So you just can't satisfy SJWs, really. But yeah, that's what happened. JimmyBob is an SJW, and we can't really do anything about it. I missed the comments. Let me just go through them to see if there are any questions. Before the stream ends, if you want to send in any more donations, the channels are always open. But let's just hang around for a while and let's just, talk. How have all of you been? I realized I asked this before and then I never checked your responses, but I would love to know how have all of you been, right? We can talk for a little while before I end the stream. I think I'm going to hang around for 10 more minutes. Yeah. Who is your favorite vegan activist? Asks No Way Yahweh. Um, that's a tough one. Hmm, I'm not sure. You know what? I actually really like Alex. That's Cosmic Skeptic. And I also like Joey Carpstrong because of how direct he is. And yeah, I really like that about him. I suppose these two. Hmm? Yeah, they're awesome. Uh, Marzi Dotes asks, are your patrons going to be able to vote on the podcast name? Huh, that's an interesting idea, actually. I'm not sure because, um, like, while I offer my $3 patrons the ability to vote on video topics, this I think might be more of a personal decision, but because this is going to be so permanent, right? And I don't know, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. Did I miss any questions? Okay, if I did not, like, yeah, okay. Marcy Dotes asks, will not have a final say, but at least get a vote. Maybe, but then it's like I asked for their opinion and did not respect the result. So I wouldn't want to do that. Hmm. How do you folks like my haircut? I recently decided that it was getting too warm. Oh my god. With my previous hairstyle, I felt so warm all the time in this area, and I just had to get a haircut. How do I look? Mm-hmm. So, okay, here's a question. Are radical vegans just passive nihilists? I don't think so. Because, like, moral nihilists are like people who say that moral statements carry no value. If I'm not wrong, I might be wrong. But I don't think so. No, like vegans, like I don't see the connection. Or maybe I'm like switching definitions around somewhere, like, and I'm not realizing it. I didn't study up for this live stream. Sorry. Okay, so all of you like my, not all of you, I suppose, but a lot of you like my hairstyle. So that's good. No way Yahweh asks, do you speak Hindi? I can, but I don't. um, like I don't do it very frequently. I speak English, right, very often for this channel and for other purposes. I speak my first language. Hindi rarely. Like, yeah. What are all the languages you can speak? Okay, so the first language that I can speak is the language of sort of my ethnic tribe. It doesn't really have a name, it's just the name of the ethnic tribe, and then like Pakha, which means language. Then there's Assamese, right? And these are very similar to each other. Some would say that language of the ethnic tribe is a dialect of Assamese, but Depends how you count them. So there's Assamese, there's English, and finally there's Hindi. I can speak these 4 languages. Mm, yeah, I suppose that I suppose we can end it there, right? Unless someone has something else to say. Um, we can end it on this note. Your godly locks are no more. Indeed, they aren't. But I feel a lot more free now. So that's good, I guess. Anyway, this was fun. As our last super chatter had to say, we can't avoid the Jim Bobs of the world, but we can certainly profit off of them. I just want to take a note and look at how much this stream raised. So this stream raised $120.50 RON. So that's awesome. Thanks so much. And yeah. Okay. Marzi Dote says I should wait, and someone keeps asking about YouTube membership thing. Am I missing comments? I don't know. I feel like I'm missing comments. Hmm. Who is asking about YouTube memberships? I'm not sure. Uh, should we end it here? Marzi has asked me to wait. I don't know what that is for. But yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's been fun. If you want to, by the way, if you want to donate later, you can still use that donation link. And I know I'm asking, I'm sorry if I'm asking too many times, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know about that. Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And I guess I'll see you guys again in the next time. Bye bye.